Hey guys, Wowguy233 here, and today I'm going to be bringing you part 1 for my Protection Warrior guide for World of Warcraft. In this section of the guide, we're going to be going over builds, talents, and glyphs. Now, some things to keep in mind as I walk you through this guide are that the Protection Warrior revolves around a few different things. Rage generation, damage reduction or absorption, and mobility are generally the things that you want to keep in mind when you fill out your talent tree. For our level 15 tier 1 talents, we were able to pick from 3 talents that improve our charge ability. Now, I'm going to jump right into analyzing these different choices. Warbringer is typically useless for Protection Warrior in most scenarios while tanking. You don't really need to stun anything unless you're tanking like a crucial ad or something. The other two, however, definitely have their benefits. Double time allows you to charge twice in a row with keeping your charge at a recharge time of 20 seconds. However, Juggernaut reduces that 20 seconds down to 12 seconds, and it can be used to generate rage, as opposed to double times you can only generate rage every 12 seconds rule. The choice here is pretty situational depending on either your playstyle or whatever boss you're going up against. However, I should note that I typically like to roll with double time just because it increases my mobility way more than Juggernaut could. Next, we're going to move on to our level 30 tier 2 talents. These are arguably the most important talents because they revolve solely around an individual's self-healing and preservation. Now, Second Wind is pretty much useless in any serious raid encounter because the health you need to get to in order for it to be useful is a level you shouldn't be at in the first place. Enraged Regeneration and Impending Victory are the 2 talents we will look at for tier 2. Currently, Enraged Regeneration is the better choice over Impending Victory for a few reasons. There is no rage cost to use Enraged Regeneration. You can use Enraged Regeneration even if you can't hit an enemy, and you can use it while you're stunned. The only advantage Impending Victory appears to have over Enraged Regeneration is that the 15% healing happens instantly rather than spaced out over 5 seconds. Still, in most scenarios, Enraged Regeneration will be the better choice. For level 45 tier 3 talents, we will be looking at 3 different DPS boosting talents. Since we don't really worry about DPS that much due to our role of tanking, this tier isn't super important. However, one of these talents, Sudden Death, can become very useful as it works passively and can come in handy when you have a bit of downtime in your rotation during a fight. For level 60 tier 4 talents, we will be looking at 3 different stuns. I personally prefer Shockwave for this tier because when I'm tanking trash and I'm tanking ads, this talent not only stuns them, but it can be used pretty frequently if there are 3 or more ads in your cone. It should be noted that Dragon Roar can become pretty useful when you need to interrupt multiple deadly spells due to a short knockback, unless of course the enemy is immune. Stormbolt is generally not really that useful as most bosses aren't affected by it, but if you need to stun one particular ad for a short time, it can become pretty useful. For this tier, however, I recommend Shockwave. For level 75 tier 5 talents, we will be looking at 3 talents that aid the survival of your allies. Vigilance is currently the best one at keeping one single person, other than yourself, alive when a fight gets intense. It's basically an extra damage reduction cooldown for the other tank, which is a huge help to healers in absolutely any raiding encounter. Safeguard can be used pretty frequently because of its 30-second cooldown. Also, it does reduce the damage they take by 10% less than Vigilance, but still, its 30-second cooldown can compete pretty well with Vigilance's 2-minute cooldown. If you know exactly when heavy-hitting attacks will happen against your target, then Safeguard is probably the choice for you. Mass Spell Reflection is only occasionally useful on a fight where there are deadly spells that can be reflected. This typically sees more usefulness when clearing trash that have deadly spells. And no, this talent cannot reflect AoE spells. For level 90 tier 6, we get to choose between another 3 DPS-oriented abilities. These abilities, while their primary focus is a DPS boost, can have a dual purpose as a solution to roots and movement impairing debuffs. I personally prefer Avatar for tanking and PvE because it can be helpful to remove roots and snares for the occasional encounter or ad that uses them. In a more practical sense, It can be beneficial to other raiders to know where you're at in the event that they need to heal you or get away from you, because it actually physically increases your size. Bloodbath is the second best tier 6 choice due to its bleed effect. When you use Bloodbath with Thunderclap against trash, it becomes increasingly easy to kite adds that can be impaired by movement impairing debuffs. And I've never seen a Protection Warrior use Bladestorm. For level 100 tier 7, we choose between 3 very unique talents. For this, I personally prefer Ravager for 5 different reasons. 1. It has no rage cost. 2. It doesn't really require you to be in range of an enemy. 3. Its cooldown of 60 seconds is actually pretty short. 4. It can serve as an AoE ability to pick up the threat of multiple enemies. And 5. It increases your chance to parry by 30% during its 11-second duration. For all these reasons, whether it be a large group of adds or a boss that hits hard, Ravager is good in any situation a tank can face. Gladiator's Resolve reduces all damage you take while in defensive stance by 5%. This can be good in any situation as well, mainly because it doesn't require Gladiator's Resolve to actually be active in order to gain the 5% reduction benefit. The DPS side of Gladiator's Resolve is an entirely different playstyle, but unfortunately it's going to be taken out of the game in Legion. Anchor management isn't super useful due to the fact that you have to pour a ton of rage into your rotation in order to benefit from it. However, if you plan to play a Protection Warrior without Gladiator's Resolve and take on the role of DPS, this will be a great talent for you. But this talent requires you to put a ton of rage into DPS abilities throughout a fight rather than defensive abilities, which is not the purpose of a Protection Warrior. Next, we will discuss Glyphs. The 3 major Glyphs you generally want are Glyph of Unending Rage, Glyph of Thunderclap, and Glyph of Bull Rush. You're going to want to definitely have Glyph of Unending Rage, because it allows you to have a much larger rage pool than normal, and it allows you to use multiple defensive abilities one after another without first having to generate more rage. I prefer Glyph of Thunderclap because it allows you to pick up large groups of adds much easier. Glyph of Bull Rush is useful because it gives you a good boost to rage generated by charge at the beginning of any fight. That extra 15 rage can definitely save you in a wide variety of situations when you need to both quickly build up rage and close distance between you and the enemy. So I hope you guys learned something about the various talents and glyphs that you could use in order to enhance or maybe even change your playstyle for Protection Warrior in World of Warcraft. Remember to subscribe, rate, and comment, and I will see you next time. Shouts are another way that you can enhance your warrior as well as those around you. A battle shout can increase the attack power of raid and party members around you by 10% for 5 minutes, while a commanding shout can increase the stamina of all party and raid members